Hey everyone, what's going on? It's your homeboy E Short, as usual, sitting in his man room, and this is the ENL Sports Talk Show. Got my buddy over here, Les Miller. What's going on, Les?
What's going on, E? How you doing today?
I'm good. I see you got your Yankee hat rolling today,
Yeah,
huh?
man. I'm gonna put it on backwards because we got to win a couple more games to get into the playoffs. So yeah.
Good luck with that, man. Listen, we have another special guest as usual. Um, a gentleman that played after us, participated at a very high level, through the PSAL, and went on to do some really, really great things. I could go into it, but I would prefer for him to explain. So, without further ado, I want to introduce my buddy Robert Kirshner. How you doing, Rob?
I am doing great, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
There
All
you
right,
go.
Rob.
Yeah,
Yes,
tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
sure. So I'll put it in context. I played at Lafayette from 1978 to 1980, and I'll get back to that in a moment. But my journey, my story, is really an origin story, and I want to kind of give a little context because it turns out that I'm part of a little bit of a basketball legacy in Brooklyn, and
Mhm.
that is my father grew up in Brooklyn, lived in Brownsville, went to school and played at Boys High, and then he went to Brooklyn College and was a four-sport athlete at Brooklyn College, including basketball. But he was really best known for being a high school basketball coach in Brooklyn. He started off at Lincoln in the mid '50s, and they had some success there. I think they went to the Final Four of the PSAL, and he coached a number of people, but including a fellow who became a famous coach, Mark Reiner. So Mark Reiner, who was a
Okay.
two-time uh, uh, champion with Canarsie, um, played for him. But then he
Wow.
was recruited to go from Lincoln in late '50s over to Erasmus Hall, where he coached at Erasmus Hall for 11 years and won two undefeated city championships and with a host of great players. Got to the Final Four of the city four times during those times and had spectacular battles in the suicide division
Yes.
with the likes of Connie Hawkins and Roger
Right,
Brown, and
right,
uh, and
right.
he coached a number of great players and great teams. And I'm happy to touch on that. But then he became chairman at Lafayette. He became chairman of phys ed at Lafayette in the late '60s and was part of that. Kind of the athletic director of part of that program, and they had some great teams in the mid '60s.
Right.
And it was always a dream of mine. We had moved then to New Jersey, so I grew up in Brooklyn, but when I was about 7 or 8, we moved to New Jersey. But I always had a dream of playing for my father in New York. So he worked out a situation where he came back as the coach at Lafayette, and I
Right,
was able to
right,
play
right.
for him for 2 years at Lafayette. We had some actually some great teams. We had some
Go
great
ahead, man.
great battles
Yeah, okay.
with Alexander Hamilton in those days, and
Uh-huh.
and Boys High won the city championship. We played some with great players, and then ended up going to college at played basketball at Southern Illinois University for a year, and then I transferred and finished my college career at Texas A&M,
Oh,
and
okay.
which was a home of some New Yorkers, including some Brooklynites that went there. So that's kind of the big picture of kind of my journey. But happy to dig in and talk about a lot any or some of those stories.
Right. But since you said you moved to New Jersey, did you play there before you transferred back to Brooklyn?
Yeah, so I played in my sophomore year of high school in a town in central Jersey called East Brunswick High School. But at that time, the basketball in Brooklyn was so much better than it was, at least in that part of New Jersey. There are pockets of great basketball in New Jersey at that time. Nothing to the breadth and depth of New York City basketball, but
Right.
Camden High School was very very good in those days, and there were teams out of Newark that were good. But in
Mhm.
that part of New Jersey, it wasn't a rich basketball culture. So I
Yeah,
wanted to,
I know, because we both were Jersey. Well, we moved to Jersey as well as adults,
right.
Yeah, yeah,
and my daughter played at Manawan, and then she transferred and played at St. Pat's.
Yeah, so that's as you so you know that there's a big
Yeah,
difference.
and I was a coach there at St. Pat's, so I know how that is. And New Brunswick, man, that's the stomping grounds of the around Piscataway and Rutgers University, called
Yeah.
Anthony Towns area. So
Yes, yes, for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
so what was your experience like, just, after playing there and then coming over into Brooklyn and playing with Lafayette, which had a lot of rich history right before you actually, got there, a couple years before you got there, with, the players such as Earl Nesbitt and Ron Chisholm and Butch Person.
Oh yeah, they had spectacular teams. I think they went to the city championship 2 years in a row, and
Right.
unfortunately, they lost both years. And they made a movie, The American Game, about Stretch Graham,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
back in the mid '70s, and there was a famous New Yorker article about traveling uptown with the five. They're talking about the starting five at Lafayette.
Mhm.
So it was. I'll tell you a story. It was my first high school game, and we were playing at Fort Hamilton, and it was right after the King brothers. So it was Albert had graduated a year or two before, and Bernard
Right.
was already doing his thing at Tennessee and maybe even in the pros by then. But um, first play of the game, a guy from Fort Hamilton drives to the basket, and one of the stars on our team, a guy named Steve Manning,
I
who
know
was
Steve.
about yeah, he was
Yeah.
6'6", uh, quick as a rabbit, could jump out of the building. The guy went up and he went up and pinned the ball with two hands on the backboard.
Hmm.
The guy and I looked at myself and I said, I'm not in New Jersey anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Right, right.
the
Exactly.
guys were faster, were quicker, were smarter. The game was just played at a completely different pace,
Right.
Right,
Hmm.
right.
in New York than it was in New Jersey. And once part of the learning process was getting up to that pace. And once you get up to the pace, then you could go anywhere and do very well because it was just a different cadence. The
Yeah.
Hmm.
skill
Yeah.
set, the street smarts, the creativity of the players were just a league above, what was seen anywhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would assume that, being that you're like a son of a coach, that skill wise, knowledge base, that you were excelling in that area. So, like, you, in reference to you, like you said, catching up to the pace, there was probably a nice fit for you to excel at what you do best, because you adjusted to your environment and then use your own skill sets to to show success in that manner. And it does help to have guys like Steve Manning on the team as well. To be honest with
Oh no, I was blessed when my senior year I played with a guy who was first team All City, Vincent Wiggins.
you. Right.
Yeah.
And when you have a 6'10" center who's clearing the glass for you, anything you throw up there, he could turn it into a basket. It's easy to get assists, and I think Lafayette has kind of changed. It's not a full high school anymore or whatever, but I think I still may have hold the assist record at Lafayette because I had such playing with such great players in those
Mm.
days.
Yeah.
Nice,
And the guys
nice.
just run the court. I'll get the ball to you. Right.
Exactly, exactly. It was a lot of fun. And in some ways it was easy to play with such talented guys.
Mhm.
Mm,
So
mm,
from what I gathered, you and Vince, which I know because he ended up transferring back to LIU.
Yes.
And he was redshirting my last year there. But why did both of you guys end up going to the same place?
So I was a mid-major player, right? So although I was recruited by some schools at the time, Georgetown and places like that. Really,
mm,
I went to visited mid-major schools, and I like Southern Illinois University. It was a basketball school. And Vince, he only played his senior year in high school. He had some medical issues and didn't came to Lafayette as a senior. But immediately, once he got in shape, he was a stud. He was
Mhm.
great. So the recruiters would come to see me play, and they would be interested in him.
Right.
And of course, why wouldn't you? He's great. So he went to a few visits. Boston College, like I went, he visited. Southern Illinois, he visited. Um, but then the majors started to come. North Carolina and Marquette and all those
Right,
schools were
right,
coming to
right,
recruit
right.
him. But then he got sick again at the end of the year. He actually missed the playoffs his senior year when he was averaging 25 points and 15 rebounds a game.
Mm,
So when he was deciding on a college, he decided that he wanted to go somewhere where he knew someone. So that's why he went to Southern Illinois with me for a year.
Okay.
And that's how he ended up there. But really, he was, uh, talent wise, he was on a different plane.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
right.
And how was that experience like for you as well as possibly both of you at Southern Illinois?
Well, it was it's a culture shock going from New York to a small college town, but it was a great school because it wasn't a football school, it was a basketball school.
Right,
So
right.
the whole thing revolved around basketball. We had our own team plane that we
Oh
used.
man.
The arena was packed. Every game. So it was really a lot of fun. They already had their front court in shape. Vince was an add-on,
Right.
and so they had a starting 6'11" center who was a junior. Uh, and Vince was so good they didn't really know what to do with him because he was very natural. He had a
Mhm.
soft touch around the basket. He was an excellent rebounder. He just had a kind of a natural gift around the hoop, and so he if he stayed there, I think with time he would have been a big star because
Mm,
he was a A+ talent in a A league,
Right.
right.
and
And he
but
was a quiet and and he was a quiet player as well. He
very
wasn't very
very
boisterous.
very quiet. That's why it was that was the reason why he came to Southern Illinois, so I could kind of keep an eye on him and make sure he stayed out of trouble, went to
Mhm.
class, stuff like that. The big brother,
Beautiful.
even though he's 6'10", he's a big brother.
Yeah, right, right, right. I got you.
Yeah. But those
Yeah,
experiences that you had there, and it ended up getting both of you to jump ship, so to speak.
yeah.
Was your
The
decision basketball related?
Yeah, so it turned out it was the coach left, and the
Oh,
new
okay.
coach came in, and he was busy doing what new coaches were supposed to do, which was recruit. And
Hmm.
I was 18 years old and thought I was hot stuff.
Right.
And when I started as a freshman, and when he didn't come and talk to me and things like that, I got mad and I made a comment to the paper that I was going to transfer. And the next thing you know, he says, "Oh, I read in the paper you're transferring."
Hmm.
So
Wow.
luckily I landed on my feet and ended up at Texas A&M.
Mhm.
Um, and Donnell Williams ended up playing there from AHAM. He was at A&M when I was there. Richie Fells, who was at Lafayette also, he was
Right.
a year behind me. He ended up at A&M for a short period of time. So there
Mhm.
was the A&M used to recruit from I think New York a lot. Ty Ladson played there a number
Right.
of years before.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. What an experience, I tell you, it's unbelievable, man. And all of the people that you played with, this just jumping back to the PSLA days, you were during an era where players like Ty Whitehead and Dennis Thompson, so there was skill level, every time probably you played in a game, in high school, there was somebody that you were competing against. Could you speak to some of those athletes that you had opportunity to play against.
Yeah, so it was a great experience, and when I was a junior, boys high with Richie Gordon and Ty Whitehead and Maurice, all they won the city championship. We played against Stevenson both years, and Stevenson with Ed Pickney and Freddie Brown won the
Right.
PSL
Mhm.
championship my senior
Right.
year. But the cream of the crop, talent wise, which eventually came through the next year was Alexander Hamilton. You know, they were hooked into Brooklyn, USA. A lot of those guys had played together for years. They had a kind of a running machine, and one guy was better than the next. So when I got there, I when I was a junior, played against Cosell Brown, and
Mm-hmm.
that he was, he was a great player. And then he left and went down to North Carolina, and then Beetle Washington, who was playing with them, stepped in and really ran the show. And they had guys like Lionel King and Ice Reynolds and
Yep. 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 Yep.
Irvin, and they had so many great guys that And then what was fun is that one of my dad's old players, who was a great player in his own right, Sal McMillan.
At
Mm-hmm.
Erasmus.
Yeah, Erasmus days. He was the city championship at Erasmus and went to Loyola of Chicago. Had just won the national championship a few years before. He
He
was the
was one of the
assistant.
coaches.
Yes, he was the assistant coach in Hamilton, and
Wow.
he got me so I played a couple of years with Brooklyn, USA.
Mm.
So
Okay.
that was a great experience going to St. John's Rec as the only white guy within 100,000 people.
That's funny.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was the guys would come off the streets to stay warm in the winter, and any white player in the world, they used to call me that. They would yell at me and call me the White Shadow or Larry Bird, Pete Maravich,
Yeah. Yeah. I know, right? That's funny. That's funny.
But it was
But the,
fun.
but
It
the
was
but the but the recognition, regardless of the names that were referred to are the terms of endearment because
Right.
you
Absolutely.
because you earned your space there,
Yeah.
regardless of what color you were.
Yeah.
You came into the gym as a player, and they recognize that.
no question, no question. It was if you could play, and you people respected that. And because I was recognized, kind of on the streets around St. John's Rec, nobody ever gave me any problems. It was a
Yeah.
safe place for
Yeah.
me and a
Mhm.
great experience to go and play, in that environment and play with such, I remember Brooklyn Queens All-Star games against the Fleming brothers, and it was great. So it was really a great place, and as you say, basketball was respected.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. And
That's
plus,
right.
the word is out that you were giving the rock up to people. I heard so, like where they
yeah,
wanted it. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, it's like because we do our homework, and it's like you were, once again, I'm sorry because it's like I tell this to everyone that you were an efficient basketball player, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where the respect was like was like magnified even more so because we were efficient and you were efficient. It's like you wouldn't know turnovers, you hit your jumper, and you got people a ball, and those are the things that were important then, and that's something that carried across Brooklyn, of that way of playing like that. And when you fit that mode, I don't know, I guess the term would be game recognizes game, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a bum, then it would have been a problem.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Get that guy out of here. But
And yeah, and in school, in at Lafayette, being playing for my dad, he was the old school, disciplinarian. The you
Mm-hmm.
know so and of course he had the ability to be tougher on me because there was nobody ever going to complain to him that you're tough on my son.
right, and
Right.
was
So
he?
he was
And was
tough.
he?
He was tough on me. Yeah, he would. Whenever early in the season or in scrimmages, whenever he would a team would score a layup if we were playing defense, he would call timeout and make the team come over and do push-ups.
Mm.
And he would get so angry. Sometimes he would, while I'm doing the push-ups, he would kick me in the stomach.
Yeah,
He would,
that's a tough dad. That's a tough dad.
Yeah.
yeah, he would take us out of the game, and he would in scrimmages, and he would say, "Sit over there. You know, you shouldn't be on the bench. You should be sitting on the side of the bleachers because you're playing like a girl."
Like,
And then he would take another a player out and says, "You're you know you sit with him. You're also playing like a girl." And then he would look over and he would say, "I want you guys to be holding hands."
oh
And
wow,
right, so it was
wow.
you know, looking back, it was funny. At the time, you know, it was
Yeah, right,
Pretty
right.
embarrassing, you know.
yes, yeah, but he used every tool in his toolbox to try to motivate you for sure.
Mhm. And did it work?
Yeah, you know, he was able to combine it, kind of that old school disciplinarian with love. You know, it was
Yeah.
so you know, so he would break you down and then build you up. It was just you know, kind of the way of the you know the time. So for example, he Billy Cunningham, when he played for him back in Erasmus, he would
Mhm.
kick him off the team routinely.
Wow.
Um, you know,
Every practice.
right, virtually, you know. And then, of course, he went on to great success, and they even afterwards they stayed friendly and they ran basketball camps together
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
for years. And then Billy Cunningham joined Walt Frazier Enterprises back in the early 70s. And
Okay.
my dad ended up running basketball camps for Dr. J and Clyde
Oh,
for them as well. So yeah,
And
so
where were
even
they holding
though
those camps? Where were those camps at in Long Island?
yeah, like New Jersey, Long Island, in the New York metropolitan area. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
know yes that we're speaking about a lot of people and how they were from your vantage point. But you know, kind of like more importantly for me, at least, being that you were a son of a coach, what was it like for you to be a son of a coach? Looking from your eyes, Rob, how were you processing that during those years, those formative years? What was it like being the son of a coach?
Yeah. So I think that I thought about the game differently. In that most people look at it from your own perspective, meaning you're a player and you're thinking about you know how you think see things. But I think being a son of a coach and hearing him talk in more global terms about the whole team and what each person had to do or what you know their responsibilities were or how to motivate them and things like that. It
mhm.
it it you know I think I thought about that differently than other players. I'll give you an example. So I told this story. I said a guy made a block on one end of the court, great block, and he threw it out, and he's running down the court now in the fast break. If I had the opportunity to get it back to that guy to
Mhm.
reward him for the
Right,
great defense and the great block, I would try to get the ball to him because not only is he going to score, but he's going to be rewarded for the effort he put on the other end of the other end of the court. And when I told that to other people, sometimes people didn't understand that rationale. Like, what are you talking about? You're just trying to, you know, you just want to score. I said, yeah, I want to have the score, but I'd also would think beyond that and say, okay, you know, who needs the ball at a certain time because they're hot? Who needs to get the ball
mhm.
because they're left out of the offense? You
Right,
know, who needs to be patted on the butt and say, you know, be picked up if they're, you know, missed a couple shots and, you know, or they
right,
get beat
right.
on, you know, defense. So I thought about things in a more global way, and I think that affected my game and you know and helped the team. You know, I hope it helped the team when I was
Mhm.
playing.
Yeah,
You
I
well,
tell
know,
you, as a big man, I appreciate that because I know when I block somebody's shot, I'm running down the court, and my point guard better be looking for me.
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
And
exactly
that's
because you know,
cerebral,
yeah,
but that cerebral thinking only comes from somebody that has processed things to look at the greater good of, you know, of that moment and of those moments rather, because those moments happen a lot. How do and you said it right away, rewarding the effort. You know, as a teammate, you're rewarding your
yeah,
teammate for the effort that they put in, you know, on the defensive side, and their effort is going to be, you know, it's going to increase because of the fact that he sees that you're rewarding him, so he is going to acknowledge what you just did, and he's going to
right,
reciprocate. So he's
right,
not going to just, you know, he's going to get the rebound and look for you because he knows what you're about. That guy
But
that
but
doesn't
but
pass the ball, he doesn't get passes to him. To be quite honest.
but I'm gonna tell you something else though. The whole thing is that knowing what was it called? Know your teammates, right?
Right.
So
Right.
the fact that I know that if I get the rebound, I'm gonna throw it to you. Some guys will just go and stay back and watch. I
Right.
know that if I run the court, you're gonna look for me.
Right.
So that's the motivation also because I'm like, man, I'm gonna get this rebound, I'm gonna throw it to him, and I'm here. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Got that hand up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, yeah. And I know I'm getting ready to go dunk this down right real quick, and I'm gonna say thank you, pat you on the ass, and let's go back on defense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
But a
Well,
thinker has to do that.
yeah.
yeah, part of I think part of the playmaker's job on a team is to create trust. You want
Yeah,
to make sure that the players trust each other, that they trust
mhm,
you, and you trust them. So it was one of the great ways to do that is that even though I lived in Jersey, if any time there was opportunities to go to the parks and play in the parks with my guys,
mhm,
and you know how it was back in the day. You'd be wearing long pants and you just take off your shirt, have a white t-shirt underneath, and didn't
yeah.
matter where you are, you played.
That's right. That's
Any
right.
any opportunity to play with them in any situation where you can, get to know them, they have trust in you. They know
Mhm,
that if you know what they're going to do in certain things. Uh, is and that's it's more than just improving your skills. It's more than just having fun. It's about building a relationship so
that's
that
right.
you can
That's right.
you can have success.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
that also gives you a level of comfort in that environment because a lot of times if you don't, success breeds you coming back. If
Right.
you
Mhm,
keep having failure level and not having anything that's balancing that out, then you won't come back. Whatever it is. You're playing the piano. If you can't hit those chords, you're gonna say, I don't want to play the piano. You want to try something different. But that's support, and that's the give and take that team sports provides for you. And it's you can't measure it, but it just happens. And then, like,
mhm.
40 years go by, and you start seeing all these skill sets that you've learned through participating in that, and you might implement it in other things that you do in your life. And
Right.
speaking of that, what has Rob Kirshner been doing since those days shooting baskets?
Oh, it's been a long journey. It's so it
Dr.
turns
K. Dr.
yes,
K.
exactly. So I graduated Texas A&M, and I went on to medical school at the University of Miami,
Mhm.
and I did my training in dermatology. So I'm a dermatologist, and I
Okay.
stayed at the University of Miami, and now I'm chairman of the department, which is one of the big departments of dermatology in the country and the world, very well respected. We do research, we teach, we see patients who have all types of very bad skin disease,
Mhm.
and then I've been active, in kind of the community. So I've been vice president of the American Academy of Dermatology, which is an organization of 20,000 dermatologists, the biggest dermatology organization worldwide. And my area of research and special clinical interest is patients with wounds, people with diabetes, people with
Mhm.
vascular disease,
Okay.
and I've been fairly well known in that. So but I will tell you that I've attributed a lot of my success from playing sports, not because of just you have success and success breeds success, which is partially true, but the ability that when you fail, you analyze what went wrong. You said
Mhm.
we lost this game. Why did we lose? And same thing in life. If you not as we all know, not everything goes the way we hope.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
But
Yep.
to not to quit, to dust yourself off, to analyze what went wrong, and try to do better next time is critical for success. And also the same trust you create on the court when you're in a team.
Mm.
whether it's a business team or a medical team or chairing a department, the people in the 40 people, other doctors that are underneath me in the department, they have to trust that what I do is in their best interest and is going to
Right.
lead to success of the team. So those same skills are very, very helpful. So, as we often say that basketball is great, a lot of fun. We enjoy it. We make friends. We have a great culture, but it also gives us tools so that we can try to succeed in life as well.
Yeah, and it's definitely a transformative thought process for everything. I mean, we've all worked with, Les and I are corporate America people, so we see, the importance of that. It's funny how non-athletes struggle with that kind of mindset. But once again, even in that environment, they have to be receptive, so that the patent, some type of corporate patent of butt or recognition, which helps, breed the team, mindset, which assumingly is what any corporation or any medical team or whatever needs, is to have people cooperating with each other. And an old saying that my dad, taught me long time ago is some things are better off shared. And basketball is
Right.
is like the driving factor in that. You can't play with
Mm.
four other people if you're not sharing. You can't do it, and
Right.
not have
That's right.
success.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
but then if you go into the boardroom, you go into we're talking to two people who've had major medical procedures done. That team
Yeah.
for 26 and a half hours where they were working hard together so that I could still sit here, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
you don't have to influence me into understanding exactly what you said, Rob, because I wholeheartedly believe in that we use those skill sets as the commercial says. Our knowledge and capabilities from playing in the sport is going to transcend into something else because we're going to be professionals at something else other than basketball. you
Mm-hmm.
know and
And
if you're a parent, that happens automatically, right?
right. I can tell you that when my dad was coaching, he was equally proud of guys like George Thompson, who obviously went into the pros, was a superstar of Marquette, and then became an announcer. And he was also equally proud of Frank Mickens, who played for him at Erasmus, became
Right.
the
Wow.
boys
Wow.
high coach, became a principal. He was proud of Carlton Screen, who was the point guard on one of his undefeated city championship team. But when his son Carlton Jr. went on and was a star of Providence, to see and
That's right.
worked in the community and helped out in the did great things in the community. Uh, you know, it made him incredibly proud of trying to have people succeed in life outside of basketball as
Yeah,
well.
and as a coach and at least an educator, because a coach is an educator.
Yes.
That's
Right.
that's the goal, man. That's the
Yeah.
goal. And
Yeah.
it's really weird because we're kind of like full circle because we're Flatbush guys, so
Yeah.
we know all those guys you're mentioning because we always have this every
Absolutely.
show we have this
Right.
conversation because we were supposed to be in Erasmus.
Right.
Mm.
So we know that environment, and knowing, like, the whole history of that school, like you're part of that as
Right.
well to some
Right.
degree.
Exactly.
Were you
Exactly.
were you were you were living when he was coaching Erasmus, right?
Yeah, so there are great stories. So I was a little kid, but I would sit uh, on the bench,
Mm.
and it was a really I was 3 years old, and there was a really close game, and he would call over like Sal McMillan, and he would everybody would watch. Oh, he's gonna tell Sal McMillan some wisdom, and then Sal goes to the end of the bench, picks me up, walks me across the court, and drops me with my sisters with the cheerleaders. So, so,
Wow.
so I was there.
Wow.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was there during. Too young to really remember. But I watched. They have a lot of videos, and when I was growing up, I used to watch. I had the Super 8 films
Yeah.
of
Right.
Right. Right.
Connie
Right.
Hawkins, of Roger Brown, games from, the Madison Square Garden when the high school used to play the championships there.
Oh
Right.
man.
So yeah, I used to watch them on my little wall with a little projector and watch and
Do
so
you
yeah, it
still
was.
have them? Do you still have those?
No, so what happened was, unfortunately, years ago, we had a break-in in the house, and the people just took everything,
Oh
and
man.
all of those things were lost, and what a shame because there was
Yeah.
such a great wealth of great old videos. I mean, I
What are you talking about?
literally,
Those 8 millimeter
yeah,
reel to
Yeah.
exactly.
reels?
Yeah,
Oh man.
exactly. I would have the little projector running on a little spot on my wall, and it was,
I can hear the projector right now
Yeah,
in my
right,
head.
yes,
exactly.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. And you know the effed up thing is that somebody took that stuff and don't mean nothing to them, but it
Right.
means the world to us if we can see
Yes.
it right now. You
I
know?
mean, could you imagine if I had video, a film of Connie Hawkins in high school that I could share with people?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
what a great thing that would be. Everybody would enjoy it. It would bring so much
yeah,
joy to so many people. Yeah, and as you point out, you know, lost and to somebody who it meant nothing to.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And they,
yeah,
and them not even having the wherewithal to say, maybe at least a good-hearted person come out and say, maybe I should return this.
Yeah,
I might get
right,
arrested for it, but
Yo,
maybe I
man, yo,
should.
right.
but bro, yo, they broke in their house. They ain't got no heart, man. So I'm sorry.
But that's only
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
fantasy land, I guess. The whole thing is that there were no
I know.
videos and things of that nature to really reflect all of the memories that we're referring to and that we all have. It would be immense gratification to be able to look back and say, here's videos of this. Even things like you said, like playing in the
Yeah,
park,
yeah.
and that's not available. Whereas now, everything a person does is tied to their phone and cameras and everything, and the technology has afforded memories
Right,
to be
right.
stronger. But it's great that we know that what we've accomplished though through word of mouth and conversations, along the lines of years,
That's
that
right.
we
That's
all
right. Hmm.
we're not lying. You can't make these stories up, you know.
Right.
And
That's
and
right.
those
That's right.
experiences, they shaped us. And what did you think of the
Yeah.
PSAL? Because I know earlier you mentioned about the suicide division. What was that like playing, with immense competition that was going on in that era?
Well, it really, so first of all, the talent was exceptional. The guys that played in high school in New York City and especially in Brooklyn in those days populated the every major college team throughout the land.
Hmm.
And you also knew that there were guys that, for one reason or another, had equal talent, but just had bad luck or, got involved in things that they shouldn't have got involved with, and
Right,
and and
right.
weren't able to capitalize on their talent. So that level of talent, that level of ability, at that time, a lot of the country has caught up since then. But at
Hmm.
that time, in a 10-year period from 75 to 85, two national players of the year were from Brooklyn.
Right.
Dozens of guys went into the pros, and every time you went to you played against another team. Now in retrospect, those guys were ended up being pros or playing in major college teams or what have you. So the talent was unbelievable. But even more than that was it gave me the confidence that I could compete and excel at the highest level. I was able it was I was just fortunate to have that opportunity. If I had stayed in New Jersey, I would have always wondered what if. Was I really good enough to
Mhm.
play
Hmm.
with the best? And
Hmm.
and there were great players, and I'm not going to say that I was in their league, but I could play with them, and on any given day, they knew I was on the court. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
But how does he
Absolutely.
say? But hold on.
Absolutely.
But how? Hold on a second. How you say this? I'm not going to try and say that I was in their league. but when I was on the court, they knew I was there.
You know,
Like that's
Exactly.
that means that you were capable.
I like
And
that.
and
I like
and
that.
and but quite honestly, that modesty is great. But you were there for a reason, Rob, and the
Hmm.
effort that you put in. Your name is not mentioned unnecessarily. Understand that, and you're not on this show
Hmm.
because your name was unnecessarily listed. There's factual proof that you competed as one of the good players in that time frame, and
That's
and
right.
that's really just the truth. Without saying, I've never seen you play, but I know based on what I've seen and what I've heard and things of that nature that you were part of the whole. We all were. So
That's
I'm here to knock that
right.
down. I'm sorry, my friend.
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
Yeah. And I'm here to tell you that I would have loved to have you passing me the ball.
Well, I do still hold the single game assist record at Southern Illinois University, some close to 50 years later. So I guess I
Wow.
did.
and
What
that
is that record? The
It wasn't that many, believe it or not. It was about 14 assists I had more in high school and other places, but yeah, 14, but it's still the single game assist record. And what was nice about it is it was against a team that was good at Wichita State at the time with Antoine Carr and Cliff
and
yeah,
Livingston.
Livingston,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
had yeah, I had 14 assists against them in a Missouri Valley Conference playoff game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nice.
that's worth mentioning.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and by the way, I have 14 dimes.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah,
at Division 1 level, doing that is an accomplishment.
yeah, yeah.
And it's like the measurement is by your peers, and they
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, it's funny. Like you said, like the environment that you were playing in, it's probably easy to be modest about it and say, well, yeah, it's kind of like what, military guy says. I wasn't like, I watched Band of Brothers till I'm blue in the face. And the guy says, it's like, my grandson asked, like, was I a hero? He says, nah, but I fought in a company of heroes, you know
Right.
mm,
and
yeah,
it's like I understand that perception and that perspective, but from the perspective of those guys that were heroes that he's referring to, they would say, come on over here because you're part of the crew as well. So
right, right. Yeah.
you got a uniform. There's a uniform for you, Rob, believe
I
me.
I appreciate that. Well, I did. Yeah, I did brush my both in high school, obviously the great New York players, but in college, at Texas A&M, we were in the same division as Phi Slamma Jamma,
Oh, okay.
and I had the thrill of having Elijah one jump the dunk on me, so that was good.
Yeah.
I hear
Now
you.
that I'm gonna go back and look for, Texas Tech, Houston game and look for that footage.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe I can get that one for you, right?
yeah.
Okay,
But
okay.
once again, but you see, like, you take your talents somewhere else, get an opportunity to play against some of the legends of the game, and having that
Hmm.
experience, man, that you own that, it belongs to you, and it's a great thing, and that's another one of the things that the sport brings to you is those memories and opportunities to participate, and it's just a great thing, and you take it with you and then you share it with your family, and so speaking of that, what is your family like your kids running around shooting jumpers and hoping to be doctors as
Yeah,
well.
so well, I have I'm married for I should get this right. 30 what year is this? 33 years.
Should I be
Uh,
muting this so that you don't mess it up?
No,
30
right, right, right.
Right. Married for 33 years. I have three kids. My oldest is 30. He's a pharmacist in Miami, and I have two kids in New York. My daughter is 28, and she does social media for TripAdvisor, and my
Okay.
youngest is 25, and he works for a company that does men's clothing. It's called Johnny O. It's a casual men's clothing company.
Okay.
They're great. The two youngest ones played basketball in high school,
Hmm.
and they really enjoyed it. But it's a uh, for me, when I was growing up, basketball was life and death.
Right. That's right. That's
It
right.
was, it didn't have to be life and death for them, so
Right.
they enjoyed it. They were good, but they never, you know, uh, they weren't getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning and staying up to 8 o'clock at night in the park.
Right,
Hmm.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're great kids, really
Yeah.
happy, great kids, so I'm blessed. I'm blessed by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't shoveling snow in the wintertime so they can go shoot some jumpers, right?
Exactly. I did that. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
But living in Miami, you don't have to deal with snow.
Oh, that's true too. That's
No way. That's why I live in Miami.
Touche,
Yes. Yeah.
but that's how, you progress and you start your family, you do your thing. And are they aware of your, basketball exploits, at the younger years?
Well, I strategically hung some pictures in the house. There's some great ones. There was a picture. They made T-shirts at Texas A&M of like the top seven players, or at least what they thought were the top seven players, and I was one of them. So we had that framed and got some other pictures framed. But most times kids don't want to hear about their parents' exploits.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I put pictures up in the bathroom. So every time she went in there, it's like, oh,
there
there's
you.
daddy. Oh, there's daddy. you know,
Yes.
but it's good to have that connection, flow through them, even if they never played sports or not, just having that,
right. Right.
because they're being raised by a person who was involved in sports. So those skill sets and the things that you shared with them, I'm pretty sure are priceless, and they're
Yeah,
grateful
and,
for it.
and plus all the things that we do with through sports carries over into regular life.
Oh,
It's so common. I mean, teamwork, things like that, being responsible, being on time, all those things factor out into your real life.
well, I think that's one of the reasons I got into medical school because it made a big difference. Playing college basketball meant that you had responsibility, you had goals, you were determined, you had discipline. All
Right.
of those things are critical for life success. So yeah, I think it helped me all the way through my life, and I continued to draw upon those things I learned as a kid.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you something. Is your father still with us?
No, unfortunately, he passed away about 8 years ago, and it was obviously he was great. He was with it until the day he died. He was failing physically, but mentally he was there, and he was very active in Florida. He lived in South Florida, and they had a very active basketball fraternity. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it. It's called the basketball fraternity, and they have an annual event where they have 500, 600 people together for a luncheon, but he would go once a week with a group of old timers, and
Hmm.
there was players and coaches. They had a guy who scored the first basket in the NBA, a guy for the Knicks called Ozzie Sheckman.
Hmm.
What used to go to this breakfast. He was even more senior than my dad, and they would
Yeah.
tell stories and really, have a.
Is this event that they have? Is it like in like February or
Yeah, it's in the winter. It's in the
yeah,
winter
yeah,
time.
yeah?
Yep. And
Because I
that
think the athletic director at LIU, Jerry Donner, and a lot of the coaches, that because of the page that I
yeah.
created, they all invite me to come down, and
You should definitely go. It's a great event. It's really a lot of fun. They have guest speakers. And I don't get to go every year, but I go periodically, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
really a lot of fun. It's to see, to talk basketball, and even there, even if you didn't play, the people want to
Hmm.
be part of it. You could have gone to a school and been a fan, or student at the play, and you want to
Right.
relive those
Right.
times and kind
Hmm.
of connect with the guys that were heroes. And
right.
it's a great event.
Well, Rob, let me ask you: is it exclusive to like New Yorkers, or is it no
It's
matter where you're from?
it's mostly driven by New Yorkers. I would say that probably 80% are New Yorkers. But if you're it's if you're a part of the basketball fraternity, they're not going to kick you out. It's very open. It's
Right.
Oh,
open to anyone. So it's a great organization because it keeps the spirit alive.
Exactly.
mm,
Yeah,
mm,
which is fantastic.
Yeah. And
cool,
that
cool.
participation, like I said before, people have invited me, and it's something that a lot of people aren't aware of that it
Mhm.
exists, and because there's no marketing being done, this is just like a casual, luncheon type of environment. Am
Yeah,
I right?
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's like really great, man, that they do stuff like that, and I think that you have to keep it alive.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And that's our responsibility as stewards of the history and people that participate in it, that it has to, we have to reciprocate and continue it on, and then pass that information on to the next group and the next and the next.
Mm-hmm.
um
yes,
because it is a special time. And it's funny that you mentioned about your dad, because the history that I found in doing, the history of Brooklyn, um, back in those days, there was quality basketball being played, and everything that you said is verified. Coaches come into New York and Brooklyn because they look for players. The level of competition that was going on there, it stretches back to the 40s. You
yes,
know,
Right,
and
right.
because the guy that you mentioned, that first basket ever scored, he is a New Yorker. Am I
yes,
right?
exactly. Yes, right. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And no, it's a wonderful history, and it's also an interesting history of the United States. So there was a guy who I'm sure you know, and the people listening will know. He was as great a small man as Alcinda Jabbar was a big man in New York. A guy named Sparky Charlie Donovan.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
A- and so Dean Smith, who was the assistant coach at North Carolina, was recruiting Billy Cunningham, and he came to practices and watched games, and Billy eventually went there. The interesting part is that Billy was averaging 31 points a game. He left in January to go to college, and the team went on undefeated and won the city championship without him.
Wow.
Yeah, so led by Charlie Donovan, who was a superstar, small player. He was like 5'6" or 5'7". But so Dean Smith came up to Charlie and said, Charlie, what are you going to do with yourself after you graduate? He was a year or two behind Billy, and maybe a year behind, and Charlie says. I'd love to go to North Carolina. It's a shame I'm not Caucasian because at the time they didn't North Carolina
Wow.
wasn't integrated. They didn't have any black
yeah.
players in
Wow.
in the ACC or in North Carolina. So,
Wow.
the history it reflects a history of the whole United States.
Yeah.
Some of the
Yeah.
things and
Yeah.
so
And then Dean Smith ends up recruiting Charlie Scott,
Scott, right, that's right.
what, a
That's
couple of
right.
years later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that he was an innovator in that, in that forum, because just giving people an opportunity, no matter who the heck you are.
Yeah.
It's
And
a
you know what though? That story you just told may have triggered something in Dean Smith's mind when
Ye-
he became in charge to do that
Yes. Well,
with
he,
getting
he
Charlie Scott.
Yeah. He saw that that how great players can be, and people were people, and you want to get great players and great people into your program.
right.
And you shouldn't and certainly it sounds the sad thing, it was in our lifetime, right?
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sports has always found a way to, drop all of the rhetoric and all of the nonsense, because there's a goal in mind, and the
Yes.
goal is usually really, really more important than a lot of other things. But if you take a goal, you take, the ability to communicate with someone, you will, you'll make adjustments, just like the game.
Yeah.
You'll learn, just like the game, and all of those things help, the society at large, because your experiences you take back to your home, that you involved in something where there was a socially, and all types of people. So you start learning from that, and
Right.
there might be situations where it just doesn't work and people just can't get along. I get that, but
Right.
it gives you the possibilities of those opportunities to happen and for it to flourish, and that's
Yeah.
that's teamwork. Not
Mm.
necessarily in a
Yeah,
nutshell, but you know,
and all the guys that I played with, they were my brothers.
That's right.
Yeah,
Hey man,
yeah,
all
right.
the way, man. Hey, come on, man. My college teammates, man, they're nothing but my brothers, man.
Yeah,
And I mean all kind of brothers. And
yeah,
it's like to this
yeah,
day, we we
yeah.
we text each other, we talk, we cry together, we go to see our families and deaths
Yeah,
and
there's a lot
marriage.
of crying together.
Uh-huh.
Not truthfully, it's right. There is, and
A
it's
lot of
weird
crying
how
together, man.
I
Because the older we
I,
get.
yeah, because I went to junior college in Kentucky, and I'm playing with a guy who was like 20 years old, and he had his own farm since he was 16 years old. And I'm
Mm,
talking like 40, 50 acres.
mm,
6'9", you know, and we got to know each other. He never, hung out with any African American people, but there were three New Yorkers there, two African American guys from Louisville. And at the end of the year, we had like a little, get together, banquet. And
yeah,
this guy, he spoke out, man. It's like, hey, it's like great playing with you guys, and you learn certain things. We go to his house, meet his parents,
mhm.
and everybody's respectful, everybody on both sides. So that it just makes you happy because people welcomed you,
Yeah,
and it's important. And there was a goal. Maybe if it wasn't related to basketball, maybe that might not have happened, but that's fine. It was about basketball.
yeah,
So
right.
yeah,
Yes,
but anything that gives me the opportunity to, bond with other people, it makes for the environment that you're in or the work that you're doing so much easier to get it done.
absolutely, absolutely,
And
man.
sports is always provided that, um, and the people that participate need to be recognized for that. You
Hmm.
know, and
yeah, and as I think I mentioned maybe before we started taping, but that especially with regard to Brooklyn basketball, the exceptionalism that existed
Hmm.
is really special. So not only is the bond is wonderful, but you knew that if you succeeded in that environment, you were really doing what you do at a tremendously high level.
right,
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
that is a great feeling to take with you the rest of your life, that you knew what success looked like at the highest level.
right,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
especially if you're paying attention,
Yes.
and because it can put you in awe
Yeah.
of the environment that you're in. It can be overwhelming, but like it's once you get comfortable and you're in it and you're seeing it, you see the exceptionalism, really, like just flourishing. And it's funny because you're always standing on somebody else's shoulders to get
Hmm.
that done and to learn that. It's really weird. This is a weird comment, I'm telling you, but this morning I was watching World War Z with Brad Pitt,
Right.
and
Hmm.
in that movie they showed in Israel the guys like the I guess zombies climbing on each other to get over the wall. And I said to myself, like, that's all of us. Like the people on the bottom, they're the guys that played in 1940s, 1950s. And you see the guys climbing over the top.
Right.
And it's like we're all reinforcing each other, that success. And it's kind of like, the goal is to get over over the top. But in order to do that, you have to stand on somebody's shoulders to tell you how to climb,
Hmm.
and even in zombie form, there's a level
Yeah,
of cooperation going on, which
Yes.
is
that's
weird
right.
as hell.
Hmm.
That the director of this movie did that it showed zombies cooperating with each other, and if they can do it, then why can't the Knicks?
I love it.
You know, I mean,
Uh,
seriously, because it's kind of funny because it's, like I said, art imitating life in a very weird, crazy, sick way.
mm,
But that's what sports provides for you is that communication with, guys. Steve Bracey coming back to Midwood
Yeah.
and sharing, things with us that was helpful. And Saul, McMillan. Oddly enough, I mean, I remember that guy. Oh man,
Yeah.
that I'm telling you, had to me, he was like the original Satch Les. So
Oh, okay.
like I
Okay.
would go and play like Saturday mornings at St. John's Rec, and he'd be beating me to death. Him and Ray Haskins, they'd be
Mm-hmm.
beating me and Mike Watler and Kurt Hudson, beating us to death.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but then I found out that this guy was like all everything. I'm like, I don't know how. Like, gosh, I guess when you get old, the skills diminish, but
Sal McMillan was Wolf Frazier before Wolf Frazier.
yeah,
Okay.
He was
Okay.
a big guard. He was 6'3", whatever. But
Mhm.
before that, the guards tended to be smaller. He was
Right.
a big guard, and he had a complete game. He
and he
could,
was left-handed.
yeah,
He was
yep,
left-handed, Les. So,
yeah.
and he had like, but to me, he had like such a weird game, but he was a hatchet man.
Yeah.
But he taught, but he was teaching, believe it or not.
Right.
And that's the other thing, like you said, mentioned Carlton Screen, like guys that, were back in the community and they're teaching. They're teaching the
Right.
game,
Yeah.
and that's once again, it's climbing on the backs of others and people who you already climbed on my back, and so I'm like I'm reinforcing the foundation so that more people can climb, and
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
more and more, and that's what we all got from it because we learned from everyone that was around us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just an unbelievable type of environment that is very precious to me, and it sounds to me the same with you, Rob.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, even when I was growing up, I loved the history of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a moment when I could memorize every single NCAA and NIT champion. I knew every player, and and now that I'm older, looking back at the history that I was part of is a lot of fun. It's like
Yeah,
when I go to the internet and I read the comments and see the posts, it's like a time machine.
That's right. That's right.
Which and I'm back in that moment, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the intent,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
to provide
Absolutely.
that, and that lesson I were talking before you came in, like, we don't, and this is like a topic of discussion lately, we don't really have a goal as to what we're really trying to accomplish here. We're winging it and doing it, with the purpose of, first and foremost, bringing, the stuff to light, the history. What comes from that, we haven't really decided what we want to do with it yet and how big we want this to become. We're kind of like letting it guide us versus us guiding it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, but if we see, something great that's an opportunity, we probably will jump on it. But it's about everybody that's in the group and everybody that participated. So decisions are going to be made based on what's good for the group and the history of Brooklyn, and truth telling, basically,
Yeah.
and transparent. So
Mm-hmm.
we're really happy to be able to bring this to people, and the opportunity to have guests on here that can tell their story. That it means a lot to us
Right.
to do
Right.
that.
Right.
You got anything, Les?
Yo, so do you have any grandchildren?
No grandchildren yet. Still, yeah,
Okay.
still waiting. Although my wife is less patient than I am.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you 1 minute to say something to your future grandchildren so that when they see this, whether you're here or not, that they're gonna know how much grandpa loves them.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me catch my thoughts for a second.
Okay.
There you
All
go.
right.
Okay.
All right.
Damn, Les with the pressure, man.
Yeah, okay. All right. Here we go. So, to my future grandchildren, remember, you did not just arise from nothing. You came from a long history of people that love you, that worked hard so that you could have the best success that you have in life and have a happy and successful life. And that if should anything go wrong, know that the spirit of your parents and grandparents and great grandparents will always be within your soul.
Amen.
Wow.
Damn.
Wasn't expecting that.
I'm sorry I asked.
The
I
like,
love
but
it, man.
yeah, but it's funny because all of this, part of what we're doing is, for people's legacy and how you want to be remembered, what it
Yeah.
is that made Rob Kirshner be who he was, and
I'm so
those are like,
my eye drop.
yeah, no, but it's important,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I say all the time, this is like the common theme of a person's mortality, and I don't have any grandkids either, man. So, but I have so many little bites that I've, created that, my daughter will share with them. And
Yeah.
like you said, my wife is a little tougher on that, getting a response from them. And they're newlyweds, to some
Yeah.
degree anyway.
Yes.
But
My wife is not rushing my daughters. She's like, we just glad first she got out of high school, then she got out of college. It's like, okay, good.
yeah,
We good.
but the legacy is important, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
need to know, who Grandpa was, and
That's right. That's right.
um,
In his
uh,
own words. In his own
There
words.
you
yeah,
go.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's and providing that is just it's unedited, and it's something that's from the heart. So
Yeah. That's right.
we're glad that you were able to come on this show and share all of the tidbits of your history and of your life in Brooklyn and playing basketball over the years, Rob. And we really are grateful to have you on the show. You know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for you guys for doing this. And it's a great service. It's wonderful. I hope you guys stay healthy and do this for a long time. And the only thing I want more is just to throw one last no look past.
Okay. I'm open. I'm open. I'm open. I got good hands too.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's very funny that you said it. But these are important times, man. And like you said, yeah, God willing, if we're still here, to be able to provide this people's memories and share with them. Um, we definitely wanted to get you on and to share your
Yeah.
take on a lot of things. And once again, it's another great show. I want to really thank you, for coming in. Please stay tuned, and there's more things to come, Rob. And I'll be digging up some more articles about you soon. So,
All right,
All
appreciate
right.
but
that.
I
All
just
right,
want to let
Rob. Thank
everybody know this is Rob Kirshner, Lafayette High School superstar, from a legacy of very strong basketball background in his family. Want to thank him for coming in, and we'll definitely see you guys in the next show. Take care.
All right.